Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I got a bunch of different shows to tape in the afternoon right after Clay and Buck. So just FYI, I am taping this a little bit after 11 a.m. Eastern. So if something crazy happens, you're like, oh, Clay won't talk. No, I am talking about all the biggest issues of the day that have occurred by 11 a.m. Eastern. Then I'll be on from 12 to 3 on Clay and Buck. Then I'll be on Fox News a couple of different times in the afternoon, evening, and more. So that is what is going on right now. So just FYI, hope all of you are having a fantastic Friday. I cannot wait. I'm headed up to Madison, Wisconsin to go watch Alabama, Wisconsin in person. I've never been to a game at Wisconsin before. I am told it will be a spectacular experience. I'm traveling with my family. I regret it to the depths of my soul, but my soon-to-be 14-year-old son is a huge Alabama fan. Sunday is his birthday, so we are going, among other things, he's got a good life, but we are going up to watch the Alabama-Wisconsin game as part of his birthday spectacular celebration. So if you see an incredibly good-looking, fabulously strong, bearded man walking around in Madison, Wisconsin, and you think to yourself, my goodness, that incredibly powerful beast of a man who bench pressed 185 pounds 10 times like it was nothing, could that really be Clay Travis himself? The answer is probably yes. Or it could just be another bearded man of 45 years old who's an Alabama or a Wisconsin fan, but it might be me. So that is what I will be doing this weekend. I cannot wait. Should be a lot of fun. What we're going to dive into here, Tua, awful. Ran into Damar Hamlin, had a significant, it appeared, concussion, did not slide. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the college football weekend, the NFL weekend. I'm going to talk about a story that I think, frankly, is crazy that isn't a bigger point of discussion. Shohei Ohtani is soon to be a 50 home run, 50 stolen bases guy. I can't believe this story. I think Shohei Ohtani, I'm going to get to it, may be the most undercovered athlete relative to his dominance in all of the world. I really mean that. We'll talk about that. Plus, I've got real thoughts on Springfield, Ohio, the way that story has played out, why I think it's so significant, and why I believe Donald Trump should go to Springfield, Ohio, and do a town hall, carry it live on Fox News, let all of the citizens of that community show up and voice their concerns, and let all of us hear from them. But I want to begin with the Tua decision. I put up a poll question. First of all, Buffalo Bills dominated. Josh Allen, you heard me talking yesterday. I think Josh Allen is clearly the second best quarterback in the NFL. Now, he didn't have to do a lot in that game. The Bills dominated on the ground, really took control early. They didn't need Josh Allen to make that many plays with either his legs or his arm. Defense played very soundly, all of those things. But you heard me debating with Kelly in Vegas yesterday. I don't think there is a debate. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't even think there is anyone who would argue for another quarterback. Does he have a great coach in Andy Reid? Yes. Is he in a fantastic situation in Kansas City? All those things can be true. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But I don't even think there's much of a debate now about who the second best quarterback in the NFL is. I think it's Josh Allen. Now, there are other good quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not disrespecting any of them, but I think it's Mahomes 1. I think it's Josh Allen 2. And I think there's a gap after that because I think there's a lot of arguments for who should be 3, 4, or 5. You could go a lot of different directions there. But number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Josh Allen. I don't think there's any doubt. Somewhere down around 10 or 12, probably, is Tua. Top 10-ish quarterback in the NFL. I would put him probably 10 to 12 if I were ranking all the quarterbacks in the NFL. And Tua has had major concussion issues in the past. And the biggest story to come out of the game in Miami is not the Bills winning to go to 2-0 or the Miami Dolphins falling to 1-1 and being, frankly, unable to beat the Bills. I think the Bills are 11-1 against the Dolphins, makes the Dolphins 1-11 against the Bills. The Bills have just dominated that division rivalry. But the Tua injury, for those of you who didn't see it, he's running on I think it was a third down play, might have been a fourth down play, down near the goal line, and he runs directly into Damar Hamlin, ironically enough. Not a dirty tackle by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Tua led with his head directly into the right side of Damar Hamlin's chest, and then almost immediately collapsed, had his hand up, looked severely injured with a concussion. There's a pause in the game. He comes off the field. Mike McDaniel actually gives him a kiss on the head. There have been comments that he's the quarterback going forward and he needs to get well and all those things. Okay. It's tough to watch, and certainly I want Tua to get well. Tua, by the way, I mentioned my young Alabama fan son. Tua was fabulous with him. We met him when he was training with Trent Dilfer back in April of 2020. If you remember when he was recovering from his, I think it was a broken hip, right? Tua had a private workout because he wasn't ready for the combine. That private workout took place in Nashville, and my son, Trent Dilfer, is an OutKick fan. Trent Dilfer, great dude. I really, really like him. Trent Dilfer invited us to come watch the workouts. So I took my young son. Tua got to meet him. My son got to meet Tua. Tua was fabulous. Super nice guy. His family was all there. They were super fantastic. I got nothing but great things to say about Tua. I've wanted him to succeed ever since then, when I got the opportunity to actually meet him and my son got the opportunity to spend some time with him. But I think it's a really tough decision for Tua going forward. He's gotten a ton of guaranteed money, and his money is guaranteed in the event that he were decide that injuries made it impossible for him to continue playing. Now, there might be an insurance battle over how the $100 million plus would get paid out to him, but I don't think it's a challenging decision right now. If Tua were my son and Tua came to me and he said, "Dad, what do you think I should do?" I know that he loves football, and I know that he's been fabulously successful at it. And again, I think he's a top 10-ish caliber quarterback in the NFL with a really talented head coach and a really great collection of players around him. I think given the concussions that he's had, my concern for my son would be football would be a tiny pinprick of what I was concerned for him going forward. He's made more money than he can spend for the rest of his life. Why put your health in danger, your mental health in danger in the years ahead? So I asked the question. I was actually surprised how many of you agreed. Right now, about in a couple of hours of voting, about 15,000 of you have voted. And I said, in light of Tua's most recent concussion, if you were a family member and he asked your opinion, would you advise him to retire? Again, just shy of 15,000 of you have voted in the first couple of hours. 87% of you said yes, you would advise Tua to retire. I agree with the majority here. Again, I'm not sure, because he's a grown man, that I would interject myself into his decision-making process. But if I were asked as a family member, "Hey, what do you think?" I would say, Tua, I think you should hang up the cleats. And I don't think it's particularly a difficult decision given what he's going through from a health perspective right now. And it's by far the biggest story coming out of Thursday Night Football, given the fact that the Bills absolutely dominated on the field and there wasn't actually that much drama in the game itself prior to the Tua injury. Okay, I mentioned that I'm going on the road this weekend to watch Alabama, Wisconsin. My blood bank guarantee, I want to make sure that I hit this. Tap the veins, boys and girls, and I'm going to check and see how the line has moved. And again, this is 11 a.m. Eastern that we are taping-ish. For usually the OutKick show is live right after Clay and Buck. But like I said, I've got a bunch of TV that I've got to do this afternoon. So I want to check and see what the absolute latest is when it comes to the blood bank guarantee, because the weather doesn't seem like it's going to be the same kind of concern that there was before as it pertains to Georgia. going on the road at Kentucky. I think Georgia is going to obliterate Kentucky. I do not believe this game is going to be remotely close. I don't think Kentucky may be able to score at all. I don't think they're going to be able to block the Georgia defensive line. Now, to be fair, you're getting even a better number than I did. I got Georgia minus 24. The number has now come in on 22.5 as I am talking to all of you. That number has come down substantially, 2.5 points, or a point and a half, since I gave out the pick. So I still love it. I love it even more at 22.5. You're getting a better number than I did at 24. Only one top 25 matchup, Boston College at Mizzou. Mizzou has not allowed a point yet on defense, while everybody is rightfully talking about Brady Cook and Luther Burden III. The story here, to me, is actually how good Mizzou's defense has been. Boston College, 2-0, got the big win on the road against Florida State. What do we expect to see in this one? I'm actually going to take the over. I think the Mizzou defense is not as good as it's looked so far. I think both teams are going to be able to score. I'm going to take the over. In the Alabama-Wisconsin game that I'm going to, I'm taking Wisconsin plus 16.5 and the under. I just don't think Alabama's offense is going to be that explosive. Crowd should be electric. I think Wisconsin can keep it somewhat close. I've got UNLV plus the points and the over tonight. That's a game between UNLV and Kansas. West Virginia Pitt, I'm taking the under in that huge rivalry. A&M Florida, I'm taking the under. Oregon State, we talked about yesterday, the Pac-12 expanding. I'm taking Oregon State plus the points, and I'm taking Washington State plus the points. Old Dominion plus the points. Ole Miss Wake, the over. LSU South Carolina, I can't remember if I said that one or not, the under. All these picks are up, by the way, at OutKick. If you go to the search bar and just type in Clay Travis, or if you just go to Google and type in Clay Travis gambling picks, you'll get all these pop up as well. Colorado State, I'm taking Colorado State plus the points. And then I think Tennessee covers the 49, believe it or not, against Kent State. But tap the veins. Georgia gets the blood bank guarantee. Huge win. I think they win by 35 plus over Kentucky. We split last night. Hardly any points scored in the second half. Dolphins offense did not show up, but we got the Bills win. It's super easy. Remainder of these games, I've got the Bucks plus the points in the NFL. This is the OutKick six-pack. Jags -3. Chargers -5.5. Colts -3. I've got the under on Giants, Commanders. They'll always be the Redskins to me. And I've got the under on Steelers, Broncos, just FYI. So those are the college football weekend games and the NFL too. One more sports story that I want to hit. Shohei Ohtani is the most undercovered, I mean this seriously, the most undercovered athlete who is engaging in Babe Ruthian levels of historic success, I think, in all of the world, certainly in all of American sports right now. Shohei Ohtani is a Cy Young level pitcher who is not able to pitch this year. So instead, he decided, hey, based on my incredible knowledge of pitching and the fact that the bases have been extended a little bit, I am going to take advantage of that and turn myself into an incredible base stealer. He's going to potentially hit for 50 home runs and steal 50 bases. Now, Acuna went 40-70, 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases. But for those of you out there who are not aware, I believe Ohtani has only been caught stealing 4 times all this year. So this isn't some example of a guy behaving recklessly on the base paths. He's going to have 50 stolen bases and only be caught around 4 or 5 times. That's an incredible success rate, which is reportedly partly due to his ability to tell what kind of pitches are coming and also to study the pitcher and be able to see their moves because he is a pitcher himself as well. I remember as a kid, Eric Davis was my first by far favorite Major League Baseball player. Eric Davis, center fielder, Cincinnati Reds. I loved him. In 1987, there was tremendous talk that Eric Davis was going to be the first ever player to get the 40-40. The best year that he ever had, I think this was 87. Look it up for me if you could, Adam, who is in the fact-checking. I believe Eric Davis finished with 37 home runs, and he would have gotten 40-40. And check and see how many stolen bases he ended up with. This is almost 40 years ago now. I was 8 years old in 1987, but I was a baseball diehard, Cincinnati Reds diehard fan. Eric Davis ran into Wrigley Field's wall and injured himself in 1987, if I remember correctly. Missed a bunch of games. He was white hot out of the gates. He and Andre Dawson, again, this is all off the top of my head, were the home run duelers that year, and I think Andre Dawson ended up well over 40. But Eric Davis came out white hot for the Reds, had 20-some-odd home runs in May, and then just kind of got injured, never was able to keep that pace up, finished with 37, I think. Again, Adam, you can hit me with these data points, but the pursuit of 40-40 was a huge thing. Jose Canseco, I believe, became the first person to get 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases, and I think he did it in 1988. But there have only, to my knowledge, been 5 players ever who have gone for 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. And now out of nowhere, Ohtani's going to come and go for 50-50. This guy is the Babe Ruth of our era. Absolutely incredible. Good work by Adam. How about the recall on me? You remember a lot of things sometimes from when you're a kid better than you do when you are older now. In 1987, Eric Davis finished with 37 home runs, 50 stolen bases. So he came achingly close to being the first 40-40 guy, and he would have gone for 40-50 in that scenario. But instead, you had Jose Canseco end up with the first 40-40. And we all know Jose Canseco was substantially using performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know when all those started. But the big point here is if you aren't paying attention to Shohei Ohtani and what he is doing with the Dodgers, you are missing right now one of the greatest sports stories in all of our lives. He is performing at a dominant level, the likes of which we have never seen ever in the history of sports. And I'll be honest with you, I'm stunned this isn't a bigger story and that they aren't breaking into live action all the time like they did when Aaron Judge was trying to hit 60. Was that last year? To me, Ohtani going 50-50 may be the single greatest season in the history of Major League Baseball. Think about that for a minute. No one ever has gone 50-50. That power, that speed. The guy's 6'4", and you throw in that he's pitching still as well, and that's the reason. I know he's a designated hitter, but he could clearly play in the field if he needed to. And the reason he's a designated hitter by and large is because he pitches once every 5 days, generally speaking. So I'm not buying into, Ohtani's not a good enough athlete. I think you can make the argument that not only is Ohtani having the greatest single season in the history of baseball, I think there's a very real argument that Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player who has ever lived in the history of the game. If he goes 50-50, something that no one has ever done on an offensive and speed level, and he's a Cy Young level pitcher, what argument is there against him being the greatest baseball player of all time, or at least the greatest baseball player since Babe Ruth? Debate, discuss. The fact that this isn't a point of contention is actually, or discussion, to me, is actually a huge failure of Major League Baseball. Baseball doesn't get its stories out like they should. NFL, college football, NBA, they all make you aware of their great athletes and their great stories. Even college basketball, heck, even Caitlin Clark in the WNBA now. They all do a better job than Major League Baseball does. It's possible we're watching the GOAT. Tennis does. Golf does. I would argue with you that baseball is the worst at marketing sports of any major sport in America, and even worse than some minor, not as big sports. I'm not trying to take a shot at tennis or golf, but way more people care about baseball on a day-to-day level, I think, than care about tennis or golf. Yet Novak Djokovic, everybody knows about. Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, everybody was on top of that. I just think we're overlooking, and I'm part of this in media, perhaps the greatest offensive season in the history of baseball and perhaps the greatest player in the history of baseball, and there's not a lot of discussion about him. Just putting it out there, I'm amazed. I'm astounded. I think we should be talking about it more. Final thought, and this goes back to the political realm. There's lots of discussion about what's going on in Springfield, Ohio right now. Springfield, Ohio, city of 50, 60,000 people-ish, and there are now 20,000 reportedly Haitian immigrants that are living in Springfield, Ohio. And my suggestion right off the top line, maybe by the time this airs, it will have already happened, Donald Trump should go to Springfield, Ohio, and there should be a town hall where all of the complications of 20,000 Haitians arriving in a relatively minor-sized Ohio town can be discussed. This is a real debate we should be having because, unfortunately, to me, there are lots of towns like Springfield, Ohio. Let me explain why I think this matters. Let's say the population of Springfield, Ohio. You could, Adam, will you look it up and give me the official population so I've got it? But let's say prior to all these immigrants arriving, let's just round it off and say there's 50,000 people there. Let's take it outside the United States. How do you think a city in Japan would respond if it had 50,000 Japanese people living there and suddenly 20,000 German people were put there and on their way to becoming citizens? How would their lives change? I think it would be pretty substantially different. What about in Nigeria? I believe Nigeria has one of the largest, if not the largest, populations of all the countries in Africa. Another good one for you to look up, Adam. You can confirm whether I'm right or wrong about that. I think Nigeria has the biggest population. Let's pretend there's a city of 50,000 in Nigeria, and suddenly 20,000 Italians were brought to Nigeria, to that 50,000 person town, and they all lived there, okay? 57,910, Adam says, in Springfield, okay? So I think that's prior immigrant, but let's say, again, we're just rounding around 50,000. Do you think that would be a good thing for either of those communities? Do you think it might be a substantial challenge for that town in Nigeria or that town in Japan to deal with 20,000 foreigners basically just being put right into their town? Do you think those 50,000 Nigerians or those 50,000 Japanese might well have issues and the town's overall culture might change substantially? That doesn't seem like a crazy hypothesis. That's what just happened in Ohio. So already what you're hearing is, oh, this is racism, this is like xenophobia. No. I just gave you two examples. Let's just use Japan randomly in Asia, and let's use Nigeria randomly in Africa. I would submit to you that that would be a tremendous change to the culture of each of those countries in the continent of Asia and in the continent of Africa. Now let's go to Ohio. Why is this happening? How is it possible that in a red state where there are many people in Ohio who do not, as American citizens in Ohio, need desperate help with their families, and suddenly we're importing all of these people from Haiti, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, and we're expecting things to just go perfectly in Ohio? To me, Springfield is a really great window into why immigration policy has to change in the United States, because you're overwhelming the existing culture of people who've lived there potentially for generations, white, black people I would imagine, by and large, in Springfield, and suddenly bringing in 20,000 people who are completely different than them. Now, some of the attention, which has begun from a town council meeting, has focused on, hey, what's happening to the animals? There are reports out there that pets are being taken. That's why I would have the town hall. The city manager says that's not true. That's what they said in the ABC broadcast. But does the city manager incentivize to say, like, hey, yeah, you know what? Our town has gone to hell? You can go watch them, the reports themselves from citizens. That's why I would have a town hall, because I think this is an important conversation to have. And I would submit that Fox News would probably carry this. Couple of fact checks. Nigeria is the biggest country in Africa. Springfield has, according to this, a 22% poverty rate, median income of just over $27,000 a year. If those numbers are accurate, Adam's giving them to me live here, we're not talking about a wealthy town at all. And suddenly you are putting in that town many people who are below the poverty level. This is a real conversation we need to have. It's why the border is such a big discussion, because there's so many different ways that people from different cultures and different countries are showing up here and fundamentally altering the character of life for many Americans. I think that's part of the essence of the race itself. Is this a good or bad thing? Can we afford to have 20 million, potentially, illegal immigrants coming into the country? Can we afford to be taking in all of these people from Haiti and other countries, even if they are somehow arriving under peril and under threat? Is this a decision that we should be making? I think that's why there should be a town hall in Springfield, Ohio. I think that's why Trump should go there. I think it's a no-brainer. And so that's my concluding thought today. I don't think it's an argument or a discussion or a debate that Kamala Harris even wants to have. And I think that's why you're going to hear, oh, this is xenophobic. Oh, this is racist. Oh, these are the awful, deplorable Trump supporters. Let's have a town hall and let everybody speak, no matter who they're voting for. And let's hear from them on Fox News, and let's dive into what's truly happening on the ground in Springfield, Ohio. That's my advice. I think it's an important conversation for the nation to have. I'm excited about football. I'm going to be watching a lot of it this weekend, including in Madison. Look forward to meeting many of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick, the show.